What's going on, movie fans? My name is Michael Weer, and I like to talk about movies. This past weekend, my wife and I had a chance to check out the double feature that everybody's been talking about, everybody's been memeing about. That's right, we went and saw Barbenheimer. Now, this video specifically is going to focus on Barbie. We're going to do a review for Barbie right now, but if you're here for the Oppenheimer review, well, check back in a little while because I will be dropping my Oppenheimer review shortly, and we will talk all about that 3-hour masterpiece by Christopher Nolan. But this video will be about Margot Robbie as Barbie. Now, come on, Barbie. Let's go party.
Ideas live forever.
No, I won't let you do just one appendectomy.
But I'm a man.
But not a doctor.
Can I talk to a doctor?
You are talking to a doctor.
I need a clicky pen?
No.
A sharp thing?
No.
There he is. Doctor!
Somebody get security.
And so, guys, Barbie is directed by Greta Gerwig, and it stars Margot Robbie as the title character, Barbie. It also stars Ryan Gosling as Ken, and there are a ton of other people, cameos, a ton of people. Like, both movies I saw this weekend have a ton of cameos. Barbie had the flashier ones, whereas Nolan's were sort of just subtle. They were like, yeah, Casey Affleck, we didn't tell you about him. He's in this. May or may not be killing people. Anyway, Barbie, let's go back to that. So the Barbie movie is essentially about Barbie living in Barbie Dreamland, which is adjacent from actual reality, and she starts to notice imperfections about her everyday life and imperfections in her own body. She starts seeing cellulite on her leg, and she's like, what's going on here? As it turns out, someone in the real world has been struggling with some sort of issue that owns the Barbie doll that is Margot Robbie, and because they're struggling mentally or physically, they're having an issue and they're not playing the right way with the Barbie. That's why she starts to see imperfections. So she decides she's going to leave Barbie world, go to the real world, find this person, and explain to them that life is better with a Barbie, and that will solve all of her problems, all of their problems, and everything will be great. At the same time, you have Ryan Gosling playing Ken, who, by the way, is just phenomenal. We'll get into my likes in a little while. He decides to tag along with Barbie, go to the real world, and help solve this problem. But that's pretty much everything I can tell you without going into spoilers. Of course, I don't want to spoil things. This is a non-spoiler review. And for those of you who have seen it, you know how the movie plays out. And for those of you who haven't, well, you can check out the movie to see how it plays out. But with that said, let's get into my likes and some of my dislikes. The first thing I really liked in this movie is going to be the comedy. This movie is a comedy first and foremost, whether it's Margot Robbie being a fish out of water in the real world scenes where she is her funniest, or it's Ryan Gosling throughout the entire movie just being hilarious, whether you got John Cena popping up as a merman, and while it's very minimal, his stuff is still funny. Really like everything they did with the characters in this movie. When they went for the comedy, it really worked. Gotta throw Michael Cera in there as well. But while we're talking about all these actors and actresses, I might as well just throw in my next like, which would be excellent casting. Yes, Margot Robbie and Ryan Gosling are both perfect for Barbie and Ken respectively, but the rest of the cast that makes up this movie also is great. I mentioned Michael Cera a second ago. You got him, you've got people like Kate McKinnon who's in this movie, and they just fill out their roles perfectly, whether they're going for the comedy aspects in those characters or those characters are delivering important lines for the movie. I thought they filled out this cast perfectly. I thought everybody they cast for this movie worked out really well. So yeah, throw in the comedy was great, and I also really enjoyed the casting. Next like I'll give to this movie is going to be the sets, and I don't feel like I talk about the sets enough, but most movies are green screen, let's be honest, but the sets in this movie are incredible to look at. I mean, you really built a life-size Barbie dreamland for these actors and actresses to act on, and oh my god, they're just incredible to look at. They really are. I bought my daughters a big Barbie dream house thing for their Barbies, and it's like they just took that and built it for real people. I've got to say, that was impressive. We'll get into my dislikes, guys. The first dislike I have for this movie is going to be the overall story for this movie just didn't work for me personally. And it starts hyper-focused on Margot Robbie's character, kind of brings in Ken, and then they go into the real world, and I thought, okay, this is going to be like a fish out of water story, and it's really not. They do have some fish out of water stuff between Margot Robbie and Ken, but then they bring it back to Dreamland later on. But in that process, they've given you, okay, this is what we're focused on, and then the whole thing shifts, and nobody really gets their storyline resolved, in my opinion. You have Barbie going on this journey because she's having a crisis, and she's only having this crisis because someone in the real world is having a crisis as well. But when she gets to that person, she never really gets into what the crisis is for that person or how to resolve it. In fact, they just go back to Barbie Land together, and that woman is just the happiest person ever and none of her cares matter and everything's fine. And it's like, well, wait a minute. Eventually you are going to go back into the real world. What was your crisis? What was your issue there? And I mean, could you not pay your bills? What was going on? But they don't really get into that. They just, after they focus on that storyline at first and she gets into the real world, it just goes off the rails and they kind of switch gears and they're like, actually, this is what we're focused on. And that is my second and final dislike for this movie. What they're really focused on in this movie is that all men are dumb or bad or a combination of the both. And that's really how it is. Every male character in this movie is either an idiot or he's bad or he's both. There is no in between. And as a man watching the movie, I had an issue with that because I don't think I'm dumb or bad. I think that this movie was trying to send a message, and that message they were trying to send is that men have been in power for too long, men don't know what they're doing, men are dumb, men are bad, women are good. And that message, again, for me as a fan, I'm like, all right, well, the comedy worked for me, the acting worked for me, but the overall story that you started with, I wish you had gone with more, but instead you went with, oh, but all men are bad and dumb. And I'm like, all right, well, I guess this is a one-watch movie for me, because I don't really connect with this at all. Now as someone who's not a woman, maybe women connect with this more, but even some of the issues that they brought up, some of the problems they had with men, I was agreeing with. I was like, all right, yeah, that's fair. Like, there's this moment where Will Ferrell is like, we have had women work for this company. In 92, there was a woman. I don't know if the year is right, but basically he's like, in this company, we've had 2 executive women in all our time. And so it's kind of a funny joke, but it's also kind of true. So there's some truth to some of the things they are saying, but they just hammer it down your throat so much during this movie that by the end of it, you're just kind of like, all right, I guess all men are bad and dumb. I guess I'm one of them. Like, that's what they're pushing on you in this movie. And I know I've seen online people talk about, well, what did you expect out of a Barbie movie? I don't know. Comedy, good acting, and a decent story. But the story, again, starts out hyper-focused on something that I was interested in, and then just, as a man, as a viewer, didn't work for me. It just turned, and it was like, hey, by the way, you're an idiot. Hope you know that. And so, I don't know, it's just, that was the issue that I had with this movie. Like I said, I want to praise this movie for the comedy. I want to praise this movie for the acting. The directing, I thought, was all very good. The sets were beautiful, but you get into the storyline for this movie, and just wasn't for me. And maybe I'm not the target audience. That's fair. With that said, guys, that's my review for Barbie. If you like this review, don't forget to give me a like. It helps the video, it helps the channel, and it helps me right here. And if this is the first time you're finding my channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button because I have a ton of content on this channel, and I'd love for you to check it all out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Alright guys, we got to the end of the Barbie review. Hopefully it wasn't too controversial. Like I said, those are just my opinions. You don't have to like them. But if you want to check out any of my other opinions on movies, I've got all of my 2022 reviews right there, or all of my 2023 reviews right there.